Hey, David.
John?
David, can you hear me?
Sure I can.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
I don't think it's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It looks like Anchorage.
Mr. Rogers, remember Mr. Rogers?
Who could forget him?
Dave, hey Dave, you know what they used to say about me and my brother Eddie? Once you met us, you'd never forget us. They used to say that about me and my brother, that once you met us, you'd never forget us.
Yeah, I think that's well known. Well, you're the
Hey,
first
David,
one.
that's pop, isn't it?
Sure is. It's got a little too much caffeine in it. Yeah, John, you're the first one.
Because I am that good, Dave.
I hear, is that Sue's voice I'm hearing? There you go. Hi, Sue. How are you?
I'm good.
I told him we gotta quit meeting like this.
Yeah, really.
Okay.
No, John, if you do this one more time with Sue, you're engaged.
Oh.
Sue, I'm not hearing him too well.
You know what?
Seriously, John, Sue, I'm not hearing him too well on the audio. I hear you very well. We got to do something. Seriously, Sue, can you do something with his microphone?
Well, you can't hear him?
I can hear you clearly, not him clearly.
Probably because I turned it to me.
Ah,
So
okay.
let's try it now.
Now can you hear me, David?
Now I can hear you. Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So if I set this up for gallery view, will it automatically do that if other people come on?
David, did you hear her? Here, go ahead.
I can hear you.
If I set his setting to gallery view, will it automatically do that as people come in to the meeting?
Do what? Oh, you mean
Pop up in the
include
little-
them? Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, because I think
It
I
will.
have it on gallery.
Yeah, yeah. I always have mine on gallery.
Okay, see, I have it on. It's got the check mark, so you're good. Okay, okay.
Hit it again?
No.
Okay. Yeah, let's make sure that, because we tapped it. I see. Did you notice we went out for a couple hours? Did you notice my man, I went out for a couple hours. We didn't even know if the equipment was gonna run. It's been sitting so long. Oh. So I'm ready to retire.
Well, John, it's gonna be a short meeting if it's just you and me.
There's others gonna come on here, David, I think.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
What happened to those Bills?
What happened? What?
The Buffalo Bills.
I'll tell you what, David. We get a couple safeties and a couple linebackers and shore and get the people back healthy. Greedy Williams and maybe a little bit more depth in the lines. I think we play with them.
Oh, I think so. I was very surprised that our defense was so lax against Kansas City.
Played them loose. Didn't want nothing to get behind them.
Yeah, but in that fourth quarter, you got a second string quarterback and he scrambles for 14 yards for a first down.
Well,
You can't let that happen. Welcome, Chris. How are you?
David, what happened was, David, what happened is we got too conservative on our offensive too.
I
You
agree.
can't run it up the gut. It wasn't working all day.
That last set of downs that we played was the worst set of downs I've
Worst
ever seen.
play calling I've seen all year.
Yeah. All right, Chris, you want to unmute yourself so I can hear you? Or you need me to do that?
There we go. How about now?
There we go. That's good.
Who's he? Oh, Sandy's getting on.
Okay, Sandy, you need to unmute yourself. There you go. Sandy, you want to say something?
Hey, here I am.
Okay, great.
David,
Yes, sir.
you being an attorney, did you ever hear about the judge who gave the 65-year-old fella 40 years?
John, sometimes somebody tells me you told me this joke last year. Is this an annual event?
All right, forget it.
This has
Forget
something
it.
to do with him not wanting to go back to his wife, right?
No.
Okay.
No. And the old timer says, Your Honor, I can't do no 40 years. And the judge says, you know what? I understand completely. And the old timer says, you do, Your Honor? He said, yes, I do. He said, I'll tell you what. And he says, what's that, Your Honor? He says, you just do what you can do.
Oh,
So when they try to get you down, David, you just tell them you're going to do what you can do.
do what I can do. Remember that at the council meeting, all right?
Oh, I don't tell jokes there, David.
Okay, well,
Maybe
it would help if you
maybe
did.
we ought to start that. Maybe we ought to start joking tonight.
John, you'll go first if we do that. How's that?
Oh. Got one more for you, David.
All right, go ahead. We got a couple minutes.
Did you hear about the guy that was going past the state mental hospital and had a flat tire?
No.
And he gets out to change the tire and he looks up over the high brick wall and there's two guys dangling their legs on a white oak tree limb and he goes, whoo. So he got back to changing the tire and he looked down and he couldn't find the lug nuts. He looked under the car, he looked in the trunk, he looked in the ditch, couldn't find it. Very sat down, he was beside himself. Well, the one guy up on the tree limb says, hey buddy, what's the matter? Well, he told him. Well, he's sitting there and the other guy says, hey, what? He says, why don't you take a lug nut off the other three tires? There got to be a gas station down the world. Buy yourself some more and be on your way. He goes, holy mackerel. So he gets a lug nut off the other three tires. He cranks her down and he's just jacking it down and it hits him. He says, hey, I thought you guys in there were supposed to be crazy. And the one said, well, we may be crazy, but we ain't stupid. So when they give you the shuck and jive, you tell them about the guy having the.
John, that's a better joke than the other one. I like that one.
Oh, you like that one?
Okay.
I always tell them that one.
All right.
No, I guess I'm not going to say anything.
Couple minutes away.
No, just unmute. I'm not going to say nothing. But look, Sue. Keep your phone on me somehow. Hey, she like this joke. Other words, okay, go ahead. You sure you want some water or something?
Fine, thank you.
Hi, Gene.
Good to see you, Mayor Kathy. I see you. Mayor, I'll make a couple of introductory remarks. It'll take me a minute or two and then I'll get to you. Okay, guys, everybody, I see that it's 5 o'clock, so I'm going to get started here. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending. My name is David Lynch. I'm the city manager here in Newton Falls. This is the city manager's town hall meeting. This is not a council meeting. We're going to be making some brief presentations. I'll identify our expert panel and then we will entertain questions. Each person will have 30 seconds to ask their question. And then you can ask many questions as you want to, but we have to go around the horn again. So you'll be able to ask one question and we'll go through everybody else that's got a question. We'll come back to you again until all the questions have been answered. Tonight, we have questions for you to ask the panel. This is not a night to be making speeches. If you want to refer to a document or some dissertation you want people to pay attention to, you can identify that, then people can go to it. But we're going to make some presentations and then answer some questions. I think what I'll do, rather than introduce all of the panel members, at the beginning, I'll introduce them as I get to them, and you'll be able to see who they are. But our very first guest is someone who's been very kind enough to give us sort of an overview on the dais right now, just to give us a quick snapshot view of what it's like to be a municipality that offers utilities, but has gone to these AMI, quote unquote, smart meters. We have the mayor of Westerville, Ohio. It's a community of about 40,000 people, and the mayor is Kathy Kakouzi, and she actually is the representative of the community of Westerville to the Ohio Municipal Electric Association. She also has a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. And she's been involved in so many things around the community. Past president of the Westerville Library Board of Trustees, past president of Concord Counseling Board of Trustees, served on the Parks Foundation, and she is well embedded into the community, Westerville, Ohio, that's gone through this. So Mayor Kukuzzi, if you could just give us, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and just give us a little 5-minute picture of what these automatic meters have meant to your community. You have to unmute yourself, Mayor. You're trying, I know. There you go.
It's not, okay, good. I'm sorry. It says the host is not allowing participants, so I
Oh,
couldn't do it.
Sorry.
Thank you. That's quite all right. Hi, thank you so much for asking me to join you today for a few minutes. I just wanted to give a snapshot of how AMI is doing here in Westerville. As Mr. Lynch said, we have approximately 40,000 residents. And of those residents, that translates to total customers of 17,700. And of those total customers, utility customers, residential ones are 15,490. So you can see that the majority of our customers are residents, the rest are all businesses. So our project is different than most because we started in 2011. So we're coming up on 10 years of AMI, which surprised me. I didn't realize it was that long. Our project also has an opt-in. We used to have opt-in for people, and we changed that to opt-out because so many people really wanted to participate in the opt-out. So our total remaining people, out of those 15,000, approximately 500 people, we have only about 100 people who have opted out. So as you can see, the vast majority of people are part of our AMI system, and it's really made a difference for us. We did choose to roll this out very slowly because we were one of the first communities to do this. So we didn't just start and do everyone. We started with our industrial commercial people and then went from there to residential by neighborhood. And it's worked out wonderfully. Our people are very happy. We no longer have meter readers in Westerville. Their job was made obsolete due to the electronic reading of the meters. What was really good about it, we have absorbed them into our organization. So they have jobs. We did not lose any jobs doing that. Another thing that's really good about it for us is we have the ability to remotely disconnect and reconnect meters, either for non-payment and then payment, or when a person sells a house, they don't have to wait all day waiting for the meter reader to come and disconnect their utilities. And when someone buys a new home, same is true. So they're automatically, as soon as they buy the house and they call us and we know they're a customer, we set up an account and their utilities are turned on immediately, which I think saves big, as a person who doesn't like to sit around and wait, that's something that was big for me. Regarding your portal for a customer database, I would suggest you have a strong software program because our original system did not, and we did not have as much use out of it as we wanted to. So since then we had to redo how our portal was working. So because that's the whole purpose of it for me, was to be able to track my electric usage and see what I could do to decrease my utility bills, etc. So talking about opting out for a second, we realized there are some customers who will never be comfortable with AMI, and that's their privilege to do so. But many of them were for privacy concerns or safety concerns. And what a customer has to remember is that safety-wise, there is less radiation in an AMI meter than there is in your cell phone that you use all the time, or the microwave. So when you look at it that way, there's really no reason to be worried about your safety. And we've been doing this for 10 years now, and we have no issues. Nothing's ever come up about safety. So, I mean, that usage for the 10 years, I think is a total affirmation of that. And those who are worried about their privacy, we've often told them we have handled your utility bills for over 100 years, and we have never ever given information out to anyone. So why would we try to do this inappropriately? We like to do everything above board and open to all our residents, that they have the confidentiality that they need. So it's just another thing that that we guarantee them. And so those who started out not sure about it and everything, they all gradually came over, as you can tell by the number of people that we have only at this time who are on opt-out. So I hope that helps.
That is fantastic. All right. Well, Mayor Kathy Kukuzzi from Westerville, Ohio, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. And best of luck to you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Best of luck to you too.
Thank you. All right. Mayor Kukuzzi is now going to be followed by our panel. I'm going to introduce one member who's not presenting, but he's present if it does come to some of the questions. And you'll see him indicated up there. His name is Mark Havens. He's with Gardner. He's been with Gardner for 8 years, 15 years with Johnson Controls, 12 years with Siemens, over 30 years in the energy-based performance solution business. And he is a graduate of the Ohio State University and then a master's in business administration from Baldwin Wallace. And Mark, I'll just have you say hello for a minute. You're not going to present, but just give everybody an opportunity to hear your voice for a second there.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that. And I thank anybody and all attendees here for the meeting. And hopefully we can answer any questions that anybody has. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. All right. The next person that is going to be presenting here is Larry Regal. Larry Regal plays a very important role in what we're doing here. He's with an organization called Aclara, which is part of the rollout of this program. Larry has more than 40 years in the utility industry in various positions. He has an MS in management from Kettering University. And I regret to tell you, his bachelor's degree is from Western Michigan University. And in fact, he still lives in that state up north, which I'll try not to repeat since I've already made the mistake of saying that name, but he really is outstanding. And he's going to begin with a little presentation. And again, everybody, please hold your questions. We will get your questions. We're going to finish these presentations, and then we'll get to an efficient way of evaluating your questions. So, Larry, I'm going to ask you to take it from here. I'm clicking ask to unmute. So there you go. The floor is yours, Larry.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to share my screen here and we'll get started. You got to let me screen share.
Yes, I'm sorry. Let me get to that again. No, that's not it.
And while Dave's looking for that, I just want to let everybody know Aclara has a facility not far from Newton Falls. It's in Solon, Ohio. Some parts of the equipment for this AMI project are coming out of that facility in Solon, Ohio. So we're also, a resident of Ohio. We manufacture in Ohio, and we've been in Ohio for a number of years as a manufacturer.
Okay, I think I have it so you can share your screen.
Okay, let me, and can you see my presentation now, Dave?
No, not yet, although it is indicating that you're in a share mode. Multiple participants can share simultaneously, so that should allow you to do what you need to
Let
do.
me try one more time.
Let me try one
Here
participant.
we go.
There we
Here
go.
we go.
Okay,
There we go.
great. Thank you.
So first we'll talk a little bit about Aclara, and I'll go through our agenda here. Also with me is Chris Kilroy. Chris will talk about the installation portion of this. This is where Aclara personnel will come to your home to install the electric meter or the water meter system. And so both Chris and I will tag team on this presentation. So the idea here is part of our agenda is to go through again introductions, vendor background, a little bit about our infrastructure we're going to put in, installation services where Chris will come in. I'll do some slide shares, demonstrations of the consumer portal, customer portal that you guys will be able to come into, and then we will open it up for discussions. So within this presentation, and this will be posted and available to any of the participants or anybody in the city of Newton Falls. This is the background of both Chris and myself. Aclara is owned by Hubbell. Hubbell is a large electrical equipment manufacturer. So we fit under what is called the Hubbell Power Systems. And the power systems is the utility side of the business. And so if you look over on the right-hand side, you see all these different components that are on a pole, from insulators and connectors and grounding devices and things of that nature, enclosures. That's all the equipment that Hubbell makes. And so Hubbell acquired Aclara back in 2018, and we kind of brought the automation side of the grid, if you want to mention that, the electric grid, to Hubbell. So people always ask, what is AMI? If you look in the lower right-hand corner, this is where your homes are typically. It might be a industrial or commercial, but you have a meter, whether it's water or electric, on the outside of your house, and it will send the data to a collector. We call it data collector units, or DCUs. Those are typically either on towers or they'll be on like poles scattered around your community. That data then sends it back to the software, and the software is where the utility itself, or Newton Falls, their electric and water department will be looking at the data. And then there's also the option of the consumer engagement, where you'll be able to come in and take a look at your consumption, your usage, and there's some other things, and I'll talk about those at the end of the presentation to help you save energy. The next part of this, so that's really a pretty simple overview of what's going to happen here. I think most people are familiar with electric meters and water meters. So, it's just putting the infrastructure in, the collectors, and getting the new meters installed in your homes. Water meters are typically in basements, and then electric meters are on the outside of the home. So I'll let Chris talk a little bit about meter installations at this point, and he can talk about the process we use and all the safety precautions and things of that nature. Chris, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Thanks, Larry, and thank you, David. So we're excited to be here. Like Larry said, I'm part of what we call the Aclara SGS team. We're specifically dedicated to meter installation services for utilities nationwide, whether that be for electric, water, or gas meter work. We just wanted to make sure that we assure you we're not a fly-by-night kind of group that just happens to be coming out there to change out your meters. We have about 10 years of experience that specialize just in this type of work, supporting utilities large and small across the U.S. and even in different areas of Ohio. To date, we've installed over 13 million meters across the country, and you can kind of see just a smattering of our past clients listed there that include AEP in Ohio, some other towns around the state, and even customers such as Con Edison up in New York City. It's probably the largest utility in the country that we've been working with for the last number of years. We make sure that our installers that we hire are fully vetted in terms of background checks and then fully trained for the work that they're going to perform, equip them with the tools that they need, the safety gears, company vehicles, and things like that. And then our company provides what we would call a turnkey or a soup to nuts process that includes management of appointment setting, communications out to customers around town. We operate our own US-based call center to do those appointment scheduling, printing of postcards, mailing those out, and we'll talk about that process a little more in a moment. And then at the end, we employ what we would call kind of a trust but verify quality process throughout the project. So our supervisors audit the work routinely to ensure that our installers are maintaining our standards of safety, our best practices throughout the process. So Larry, we can go to the next slide. We wanted to give you an idea of what to expect once we start the process, probably around the June timeframe to come out and install meters, and as we're working around town. So for those of you that have both electric and water from the city of Newton Falls, your meters will be exchanged on different days. There's really two simple reasons for that. We use different workers to perform those tasks. Just like you wouldn't call an electrician if your sink is leaking or a plumber to install a new circuit breaker box, our meter installers are going to be specialized to perform those different tasks. Also, as Larry said, your electric meters are typically outside the home. Those can be completed rather quickly. Your water meters are generally inside your house, probably in your basement. So we would have to schedule an appointment to come install those. And the water meter work does take a bit longer for us to complete than the electric meter work. With those water meters being inside and scheduling those appointments, we would need an adult over the age of 18 to be there to let us into the house. But for both types of work, you would get a postcard from us a couple weeks before we start work in your neighborhood to give you a heads up. When we arrive for any type of work, our installer would knock on the door. For the electric meter, if no one is home, we would go ahead and still replace that meter, assuming our installer can reach it. The installer is going to be in your yard for maybe about 5 minutes to do the electric meter. You'd have a brief power loss during that time, about 30 seconds to a minute or so when they pull the old meter out, pop the new one in. So just keep in mind that you may have to reset your digital clocks on your microwave, your alarm clock, something like that after that's done. But otherwise, you shouldn't see any major problems for that. For your water customers, after the postcards go out, our call center is going to call you a couple times to try to schedule the appointment. So they'll use the phone number you have on file with the water department there, and they'll leave a voicemail and ask you to call us back if they don't reach you. Our water installers, when they come to their house, will be there around 20 to 30 minutes on average. Your water will obviously have to be turned off when we take the meter out. So your water will be out for about 5 minutes or so as they take the old one out, put the new one in. Installer has to go in and out of the house a couple times. There's the meter transmitter Larry mentioned is usually mounted on the outside wall where there's currently a touchpad for the meter readers from the city to use to get your water meter read today. And then anytime we come out there, whether we finish the job, whether we can't get to the meter, we leave a door tag for you to let you know we were there, to let you know we did the job, to let you know if we couldn't get to it for some reason. And the postcards, the door hangers, all those have the toll-free number to our call center. So you can call us if you need to schedule an appointment or anything like that. If we do come out, usually for, say, the electric meter work and your meter's behind a gate, your dog was loose in the yard, things like that, we would leave you on the door tag a note saying that we couldn't get to you, ask you to give us a call, but we would still go ahead and call you after that to try to schedule time to come back. Next slide, Larry. Okay, so how you can help us out as well. Our goal is to make this process as painless, as quick, and as efficient as possible for everybody involved, especially you, the residents. So there are a few things that you can do on your side to help us make that happen also. When you get that postcard in the mail and you know you need to set an appointment with us, feel free to give us a call first to speed that along. Obviously, if you have a water meter in your house, we know we need to schedule that appointment. So that would be great to make that appointment as quickly as possible. But if you haven't, for your electric meter, if you know that it's someplace that we would have trouble getting to, we're never going to jump your fence. We're not going to try to get past your locked gate. We are not going to argue with your German Shepherd. We're not going to move your lawnmower or things like that may be parked in front of it. So if you have something like that you need us to have a time when you can be home to let us in, let us know that, or if you can just make arrangements to have something moved out of the way or trim some bushes for us to get to it or something, that would be very helpful. Also, we know some people have sensitive electronics in their home, maybe big computers or medical equipment, that even just that brief power interruption could be difficult if you don't make prior arrangements. Those are things to, just keep an eye out for that postcard, give us a call. We'll be happy to make arrangements for a time that works for you to work around that. If you do get a voicemail from our call center asking to set up the appointment, please just try to give us a call back as soon as possible so we can keep things moving for you. Also, in the next few weeks, make sure the city billing department at the utility has your current phone number on file. We do find that a lot of times when folks open their account with the utility, they put, whatever their home phone number was at the time, and now a lot of people are using their cell phones instead. So, when we try to make a phone call, we get a disconnected number or something, and that just makes it harder for us to keep that going for you. So if you can check on that. And then obviously, if you have an appointment, make sure you write down when that is, you're home. If you can't be, feel free to reschedule with us. Also, if somebody in your house gets ill before we're supposed to show up and we need to come in the house, give us a call so we can reschedule that as well. So, and then, if there are things in the way, down your basement, go ahead and move those storage tubs or the Nordic track or things like that might be in front of that water meter before we get there so we can be in and out of your hair as soon as possible. Okay, next slide, Larry. So finally, safety is a big concern. We know that, and we take it very seriously. It's woven into the company culture here. It's top of mind in all of our daily activities. We know that on any given day, a homeowner would be concerned about who's coming out to do work in their house, about somebody touching electric equipment around their home and things like that. So we do take extensive precautions to protect the safety, not just of our employees, but of those we serve in the communities we work in. So like I said, all of our employees are subject to extensive background checks prior to being onboarded. And we make sure that you'll be able to recognize that the installers knocking on your door are supposed to be there. They'll have standard uniforms with an ID badge, their uniform, even the signs on their trucks they park at your house will have our company logo and mark that they're an approved city contractor. And then we equip them, like I said, with what we call PPE, personal protective equipment, various safety equipment, like you see that gentleman at the top pictured there. To protect them as well as, other accidents from, electric flashes, things like that, to make sure that they don't get hurt, that you don't get hurt, that they can minimize things, as well as being trained on how to prevent accidents as they go. But on top of that, we know that we need to add layers of protection while the pandemic may still be going on. So we have implemented a variety of protocols. These are regularly reviewed by our safety and operations department management teams, and they will be updated constantly based on public health guidelines and in conjunction with the city's leadership based on anything specific state or local that we need to do. But commonly across our projects, we make sure our field staff go through daily health screenings. They're required to wear face masks, medical gloves, and if they enter your home, shoe coverings. They routinely throughout the day are washing their hands or sanitizing their hands, as well as sanitizing their tools, their vehicles, the inside of their workspaces and things like that. They are required to maintain a good 6 feet of social distancing when they come to your house. Even when they knock on your door, they're going to take a step back, put their ID badge down, on a patio table or something for you to see it when they talk to you. And they'll be asked to maintain that kind of distance if they're in your house working with you. And we do ask that if we are in your house, say working in your water meter, that any of you that are home also wear masks for your protection as well as our employees. So that is the end of my prepared part. So I will kick it back over to Larry and or David. We look forward to working with everybody in town and be happy to answer questions when we get to that portion of it as well.
Sure.
Thanks,
Larry, do
Fred.
you have anything further as part of your presentation?
I do,
Okay.
Dave. So I'll keep going here. The next thing, I just wanted to bring up a brief slide here. So everyone always asks, when we do presentations, how many meters are out there? Here's a couple of reports, based in 2019, they figured there was almost 95 million meters out worldwide. There's about 400 million smart meters out. So smart meters are nothing new. They've been deployed, for a long period of time. Actually, Aclara started doing AMI 40 years ago, back when we used to have the meter that had the dial that went around. And today they're now into more electronic meters and communicating via RF. I think, like the mayor said, the amount of RF we have is way, way, way below what a cell phone is. So there shouldn't be any worries in regards to the devices that we're using. The next part, I wanted to just kind of show you some screen prints here in regards to the consumer portal. And what this is going to be the portal that you as the customer for the city of Newton Falls are going to be able to come into and take a look at your bills, take a look at things that you may have signed up for on the website. So this is, you know, a service to you from the city of Newton Falls. Whether you want to participate in it or not is going to be your choice, but this data will be available for you. You'll set up an account just like you would with anybody else, you know, a username and a password, and be able to have access to your data and your data only. It's made up of really 4 things called My Bills, My Savings, My Usage, and Alerts and Notifications. And I'm just going to give you a brief view of that. The first one here is kind of your dashboard. If you look up here where underlined is dashboard, but you would come in and here would be where there would be anything that we'd want you to know about. So is there a cost threshold, or is there some estimate or something that you have asked that you want to be alerted to, that will be available to you. As you look at the dashboard, and it's not a live dashboard, right? There's usage and bills, as I said, ways to save and settings. And then there's some other actions over here on the right-hand side. So there's a number of capabilities on this website. You know, really it's to help you manage your utility bill, help you manage your energy, and help you save money. The next slide here is typically what your usage would be. So this would be on a monthly basis or even a daily basis. And if you went in and if it was live, we could click on this and it would break things down by day. And we can even get the data even more granular down to the hourly basis. So this just happens to be showing electric here, but if you had gas or water, you know, any of these, you would just click on them and they would bring that to you. And of course, this is John Doe's site on Main Street here in Boston. So your home profile, if you choose to, you can put your home profile in, and what we're looking for, kind of the size of your house, how many people live there, you know, how many refrigerators, stoves, things of that nature. And based upon that, what this does is it tells the algorithm in the background that you should be using this amount of electric and this amount of water, and they'll help you to compare yourself maybe with your local neighbors there, anybody else that's participating, but it's in a huge pool. And this data then leads into us making some recommendations to help you in regards to saving energy.
Larry, I can interrupt you for a second. That's voluntary. You don't have to give that information if you don't want to, right?
That is correct. This is all voluntary. As I said in the beginning, the whole website is voluntary. You as a consumer can decide whether you want to participate. And each portion of these, any of the input is all totally up to you. If you choose not to put any of your data in, that's perfectly fine. It's just a better way, you know, for us to be able to help you to save energy. That's the only reason it is. And I think, as the mayor said, none of this data is shared with anybody. You're the only one that has access to it. So, you know, from a security standpoint, you know, big brother in the sky, if you want to say that, is not looking through and watching. Here are some areas where you can create your own personal plan, where you might want to say, hey, I want to save $5 a month on my water, or check my lighting or my air. You can see across here. So, you know, there's a number of things that the portal brings to you, just trying to help you save energy, save costs. The bottom line to energy, right, is costs. So we can help you manage your utility bill. And then also, you can also look at your bills, right? So you'll be able to break down by the month, and this is just an example, but look at the last bill. You can look at your next bill, and there's even some algorithms in there that will help you predict your bill coming up based upon past usage. So again, I want to reiterate, it's about saving, helping you save, helping you understand, and it's going to go based upon past history. So in the beginning, of course, there's no history in there, but as you use it over time, it will continue to build history about you and how your lifestyle is. Excuse me here. And then it will help you as you go forward. And here's another kind of look at, this one happened to be in gallons. It's electric, but with your kilowatt hours, you can see your daily use of gallons, how many days that you're into a month. So there's a lot of different ways that we're going to show you the data. You'll be able to, kind of slice and dice the data, figure out what's best for you. The last area I wanted to go into, I know a number of people always, when they hear about smart meters and they use, somebody's looking at you or this is harmful or whatever. There are many, many articles and studies and FCC documents and, health documents that you can see. I got a couple of slides here that's part of the presentation where you can click on this, that it will take you into the website. So, the key thing here is they're from multiple different sources. This is not stuff that just Aclara did or our competitors do. It comes from, what we call peer resources, people that go out, engineers and technicians and health people look at this data. There's some utilities there, right? Here's some other things on FCC, there's EPRI, which is a big study group, Electrical Power Research Institute. So there's a lot of data here that hopefully, if you have any questions or you have any concerns, the data is available out there for you to be able to research and check on. That's it from our presentation. So Dave, I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, Larry, if you can eliminate the shared portion of it so I can see everybody again, I'd appreciate it.
There we go.
Okay, that's great. Folks, one other thing before I get to the questions, there were some resources and reports, and I know Brenda Persino had brought up these safety and environmental reports. They are going to be posted tomorrow morning on the city's website. So you can actually click on those reports. So, Brenda and I have talked about this in the past before. So make sure anybody else that wants to see those safety and environmental reports, they will be posted on the city's website. I hope it gets done tonight, but my understanding is from the webmaster that may not happen till the morning, but it will be in a prominent location on the city's website. If you cannot find it on the city's website, call me, 330-872-0806, and I will guide you to being able to see those. All right, folks, we're getting to the question and answer portion of things right now. This is not a council meeting. It is the city manager's town hall meeting. So what does that mean? What it means is that we're not giving speeches here tonight. We have a panel of experts here. We've got Mark Havens, Larry Regal, and also Chris Kilroy. That presentation that you saw tonight will also be posted on the city's website. So that visual presentation identifying sources and other information will also be posted on the city's website. So you have full access to those items. And if you have questions regarding those, please contact me and I can get you in touch with some of these very folks that have been offering their evidentiary presentation regarding these smart meters tonight. So the guidelines for the question and answer period is that you've got 30 seconds to give a question, no speeches, get to the point with the question, and then there will be an answer emanating from one of our panel members here. And if you have multiple questions, we'll come back to you again. So it's only one question at a time. And the very first person from our citizenry that came on here was Brenda Persino that I referred to. So Brenda, I'm gonna go to you right now and ask you to unmute yourself and present your question. Go ahead, you have the floor, Brenda.
The first question I have is, Kathy had mentioned the Strong Software program. If we're unable to get that on because they have an older computer, can you do that on your phone for your porthole?
Yeah, Larry, why don't you take that one because that's related to the consumer engagement portal. Larry, let me help you there. You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
So to answer your question, yes, any mobile device that you have, whether it's an iPad, your phone, you would go in via Safari as an example off your phone, or your iPad or your laptop, you can have access to. I mean, you would have your username and login, and you would go in via that way.
Okay, as far as the questions go, folks, if you're on video, wave, and I'll know that you have a question, but if you're not on video, I can't tell if you're asking a question. So let's go to Councilman Terry Alberini. He's next, and you'll have to unmute yourself, Terry. Try it again, Terry. You're not unmuting for some reason. There you go.
Okay. Hey, thank you guys. I really appreciate your time and effort and clarifying a lot of things. This is more of a deferring to the public. I know my friend Eddie McLaughlin's on here, and he's had a lot of questions for the last 6 months. Eddie's right in the middle of the screen there. So Eddie, could you unmute and start asking those questions you were asking me about, buddy?
Okay, let's go to Mr. McLaughlin then, but Ed, it's going to be one at a time. So we will come back to you again, but Ed, unmute your, there you go.
Okay, hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, Mr. Rigel, whatever, he was speaking very nicely, but it seemed like he was talking about monitoring the meters and stuff. You're going to have peak and off-peak times. So my question is this: are we going to have peak and off-peak times where the rates will be different with these meters? Because Mr. Lynch told me it was going to be 14 cents. I was paying 14 cents. That will never change. Is that what's the answer to the question?
So the meters are set up to do kilowatt hours. It'll be the same rate structure that you have. There is no time of use rate structure that's been implemented in the meters.
And I'm going to just add to that. Ed, I had a meeting today by phone with Bill George, our electric director. These are not going to be demand meters. We do not have demand meters in our residential locations now. We will not going forward. These are not demand meters. So the time of the day, that sort of thing that you were concerned about that is related to demand meters is not there. Okay. Folks has got a question. We're going to come back to you, Ed. I know you got more than one, but I want to make sure we go all the way around. Somebody named LN. LN, you can ask your question, but you're going to have to unmute yourself and you have to give us a name and address.
Yes, Laura Nizel, 227 North Center. My question would be, what about the older houses that have knob and tube homes? How is that going to affect them?
Okay, that is a great question. Larry, is that yours or is that something for Chris to respond to?
Well, I'll just say from the meter standpoint, there's no difference. I mean, we're taking out an older meter and putting in a new one, so it should not have any effect at all on your electrical system.
All right, Chris, you want to take a whack at that too?
Yeah, I would mirror that statement. And if anything, if there's some problem with the wiring when our installer gets to the meter socket on the outside wall that looks like it's dangerous or could cause a problem for them to install the meter, then we have process for them to realize that, to look for that. And to, call a halt to it and notify, say, the city so that they can, come out and do a repair or have an electrician, come work on that or something. But generally, in terms of just if there's older wiring in the house, it wouldn't be a problem. If, the meter that's there is working, the new meter would work just the same.
Yeah, I want to say one other thing that I think is somewhat related to her question that we should clarify whether she intended that in her question or not. And that is that the electrical system and the plumbing system of the homes don't have to be changed or torn out or switched out by virtue of these meters coming in. And she was talking about some older homes with some older systems. They do not have to be changed out or replaced as a result of it. So I'm looking for other blue hands or somebody who's on video that's waving a hand. And so I'm going to go back to Ed McLaughlin because I'm just presuming, Ed, from our prior conversations that you've got another question. So you have to unmute your. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah. Well, from the first question, it looks like I'm paying 14 cents a kilowatt. That's not going to change. I'm not going to have peak times. It's going to be 35 cents a kilowatt for peak times and 10 cents a kilowatt for all peak times. So I'm taking for what you guys just said. So
Yeah, that's right.
if our bill rates are not going to go up, you're going to realize $458,000 or $54,000 a year added revenue. If our rates aren't going to go up, where's this added revenue coming from?
Yeah, I can help you with some of that, but I think I'll refer first. Mark, do you want to take a shot at that? Mark Havens from Gardner. You and I have talked about this quite a bit, so why don't you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Mr. McLaughlin, I think that's a great question. And I think, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the actual contract for this project. And I know that it has been online, so I would defer to that. But there are about 7 to 8 categories in which, you know, the additional revenue to justify it will come from. And let me just touch on those categories if I can. Meter reading staff reduction, there is a savings there. There's an avoided utility theft, which is at about 1% of the total utility costs. And that's per AWWA guidelines. We also have, beyond just the project of the water meters, there was some energy portion to this project with LED lighting retrofits. So there's some savings there. There's also savings in terms of the amount of times that Bill George and Chuck Lane's staff have to go out and reread meters that were read improperly, as well as for utility shutoffs. So there's some savings there. We did also uncover a meter that was inoperable, a large meter, as a matter of fact, a 6-inch meter that was feeding Braceyville. So there's quite a bit of new revenue coming from that. And then that is where you'll find those savings. I don't know if you want me to go into the details of all those numbers, but they're found in the contract on page 37 of 46.
The other thing I wanted to mention, Ed, is that we have losses in electricity and water that are currently not detectable. And these meters will actually be able to identify where those are so we can get to them. And that's a reasonably significant kind of thing that we'll be able to recapture, especially in the water area. There are areas where water is being lost. It's just going away into the ground, but you're paying for it because we're paying all those people to go through the water purification. So there's some pretty significant savings there. I also wanted to mention that we're going to have, we may be able to reduce our insurance premiums because of this program, because these meters identify areas where there's a potential fire or other issues, because we learn about it on an early basis. And so in the water area, someone's on vacation, there's a continuous leak, it's causing problems in the infrastructure and the road. We don't know about it currently until it's been there a long time. With these meters, we know at the very beginning of the problem. And my anticipation is that we'll be saving on some insurance costs as well. I am gonna, we've got some other council people that are here. I'm gonna go over to Councilman Bariak just for a moment, because he represents one of our wards here. John, did you have a question? Do you want to unmute yourself, or just shake your head no if you don't? No? Okay. Okay, no problem. We also have Councilwoman Splitzer was on here, and I am looking to see where she is now. There she is. Sorry. Thank you for waving. All right. Tessa, would you unmute yourself as well, please? Perfect. Well, nope. There you go.
There I go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Dave, I was looking back through some past minutes from the meetings.
Sure.
And I recall, I wasn't on council at the time, but I recall you guys passing perhaps like a motion saying that none of this would get started until all of the pandemic or COVID, everything was lifted.
Sure. No, it's a good question. And I'm going to respond to that. The council passed a motion indicating that the protocol that's followed for the installation meters has to be in conformance with the health department's protocols. Chris went through some of the guidelines in terms of the masking, sanitization, temperature testing, inquiries of the residents as to the medical health of the people that are in there. If you saw the picture of the PPE that Chris put up on the screen, and before we start the installation, we will go back to the health department just to double, triple check again that we'll find the protocols. By the way, there are other service industries that are following health department protocols now. Mailmen, if you've ever had folks come from the cable company to your home, you know, there's certain protocols that, well, not you, but somebody else. But they all follow, even the folks from Amazon are following a special protocol right now. So, okay, we're gonna come back to you, Tessa, if you have another
Thank
question.
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilman Zimmerman, you had mentioned that you didn't anticipate any questions, but since the Pittsburgh Steelers have been in a mode of defeat for 2 weeks, we figured we just want to hear your voice know that you're in full recovery.
Oh, I'm fully recovered and I'm able to come back on here. So I
Okay.
appreciate the minute. But I apologize if I missed it. I was on here a few minutes late, but a lot of the questions I get being asked are about opt-outs. I don't know if that was discussed at the very beginning or not, so I apologize.
No.
Clear up what opt-out of 1 meter versus 2 meters and what the difference could possibly be.
Yeah, I'll respond to that myself. That was contained in the original notification that we had regarding this meter. And what's happening in almost all the other communities across the United States is that they charge you one amount as an opt-out for 1 meter and then a second additional fee to opt out of the second meter. We are not doing that. The Public Utilities Commission of Ohio has determined that for electric meters only, not for water meters as well, the opt-out is $28.29. We are including the water meter in that. Now, by the way, that doesn't mean you have to opt out of both. You can opt out of both or one or the other. I want to make sure people understand the nature of the opt-out though. The device that emanates the radio frequency means RF. That device is always on the outside of the home. So if you think about the idea that you're holding your cell phone up to your ear all the time, this radio frequency emanating device is outside your home, even for the water meter. So the water meter will be changed out from the inside of your home with a brand new meter, but there'll be a wire that leads to the outside of the home, and the radio frequency emanating device for that water meter will be outside the home in the vicinity of the radio frequency emanating device for the electric meter. So that $28.29 is the opt-out fee. And that was determined after hearings by the Public Utilities Commission to determine the additional cost the city incurs by having a meter reader go to your home instead of having it be remotely, and then having remote shutoffs, the additional risk factors involved. There's a whole formula the Utilities Commission used, but we are actually doing one bit better than the Utilities Commission, because the opt-out fee allows you to opt out for both or one just for that one fee. Okay, again, as I mentioned, we're going to try to go around the horn so that people have the opportunity. I see Richard E.B. wants to ask a question, and please unmute yourself and give your name and address for the record. Whoops, go ahead, try it again, Mr. E.B., I'm sorry.
Hey, it's me. I'm Anna E.B., 50 West 9th Street, Newton Falls, Ohio.
I'm sorry, what was your name again? What was your name again?
Anna E.B.
Anna E.B. Okay, I'm sorry, Mrs. E.B. Go ahead.
That's all right. Well, back on the opting out thing, my question is, if you do opt out, or wait a minute. If you get the meter, can you opt out at a later date if your bill goes up too high?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Do you have to pay?
Well,
To
anytime
have
you
somebody,
opt out, it's $28.29. So,
I get that. Well, you have to pay to have someone can't change your meter back
yes.
out.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We're not,
Yeah, there's a change out fee. We haven't figured out what that is yet, but yeah, you're right, because there's a little bit of a change out fee. We haven't determined what that is, but we anticipate it not being anything particularly exorbitant, but yeah, you will have that right. In fact, you can go back and forth again, but you might have noticed that Mayor Kikuzi from Westerville, she's got something like 15,000 meters with only 100 people finally concluding to opt out. So they've reached a very high level of confidence. The next question is from Brenda Persino again. And Brenda, you need to unmute yourself again. There you go.
Okay. Back to the opting out. So you can go back and forth and I decide, okay, I'm gonna try it, don't like it. I can have somebody come back out, put a different one on. Now, is that's the change out fee you're talking about, correct?
Right.
Okay. Then that'll probably be like a fee of like buying a whole different meter. So it's going to be probably more than 28 is what you're saying.
Oh, well, yes, because
Yeah.
we're talking about a different piece of equipment.
Right. Okay. And the wiring, the electric wiring.
Yep.
So
Wait a
they're
minute,
going to.
Brenda, excuse me. I got to make sure I stick to the guidelines. So we'll come back to you again. It's one question at a time.
Hey, Dave, can I make a comment?
Sure.
Yeah, so
Back to Brenda.
it's the same meter. The only difference is it doesn't have the RF module in it.
Right, which is the emanating.
Meter is not different, other than the fact it doesn't have the module. It'd be like having the same cell phone, but it doesn't have Wi-Fi on it, right? Or doesn't have the RF communication. So it's not a different meter, same meter, just without the module to transmit the data.
Right. Well, for the purpose of the electric meter, the RF module is actually built in, so I think it would be a different meter, wouldn't it?
Well, but it's the same model. I mean.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, I
the
think
same
Brenda
meter.
wanted to know, is somebody coming out to change equipment? And obviously they are.
Yeah, yes, they have to change equipment. They gotta, yes, that is correct.
Okay, now Mark Havens wants to chime in on that. So Mark, if you'll unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing that so people understand is that the AMI device itself is only reporting and communicating the usage of the meters to the system. So I think Mrs. Eby had mentioned something about if my bill's too high, can I remove the device off of it? It's the meter itself that is recording the usage. So whether it's being reported through the AMI system or being read by a meter reader, that's the usage that you have. I just want to clarify that. Maybe
Yeah, I don't think Mrs. Eby was going to yank the meter out herself, so I think we're okay there. All right.
Well, I just want to make sure people understand that the AMI is laid on top of the meter itself and reporting usage.
Yeah, Mrs. Eby has her hand up again, and on the rotation, we're back to you, Mrs. Eby. I see your hand is up again.
yes, Anna EB, 50 West 9th Street, Newton Falls. One more quick question is, we came in late and I apologize, but I take it that these gentlemen that are speaking are from the place where we bought the meters.
Yes.
And if they are, I would like to know from someone who could please tell me where on the internet I can find a site that says something good about these meters, because I cannot find one.
Yeah.
So if you've got a site on someone who's not selling them, I don't want it from somebody who's selling them. I want a site that says they're good.
Okay. Here's what you can do. The city is posting those sites, as I mentioned, first thing tomorrow morning. I'm talking about neutral party sites like from various studies undertaken by consumer groups. And we are posting those. In fact, I just got a phone call from our webmaster while we were doing this meeting, and he'll make sure those are posted on the city's website so you can look at those yourself. In fact, Ms. Persino has been talking about that. My gosh, Brenda, you brought that up about 10 weeks ago, I think. So, so they will be posted so you have access to them. I'm looking for hands. I'm going to presume, even though I'm not there, it is Mr. McLaughlin. I expected you would have a hand again. So, Ed, if you'll unmute yourself,
Okay.
you can go again.
I just want to clarify, because I'm still not getting the vibes that I want to get. If I'm paying 14 cents a kilowatt and it's 6 o'clock at night, my air conditioner is running, I'm running the washer and dryer, the dishwasher's going, the toaster's going, is that going to affect my rate, or I'm
No.
still going to pay 14 cents a
Not
kilowatt?
going to affect your rate. You're still going to pay 14 cents. By the way, not related directly to this. As I announced at the last council meeting, I have been working on a project for the last year, which is slowly but surely coming to fruition, to actually lower the electric rates as a permanent discount. So that's
Thank
coming.
you.
So stop
Thank
using
you.
that number 14. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. It looks like Councilwoman Spletzer has a question again. So Tessa, we have to go through this mute unmute game again. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I do want to ask a question that addresses specifically our friends and neighbors that live in the township that happen to have city water or, whatever city utilities. Tell them how does this whole project affect our friends in the township, please?
Yeah, I can address that. Our friends, our service clients in the township will be going through the exact same process as relates to these meters going in and out. So there really is no difference. The folks that Chris talked about, these installers that are coming to the home, that entire protocol that he described is the exact same protocol as will be taking place to our residential customers located in the township. So there's nothing we've presented tonight that is different from the standpoint of the meters themselves. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. And I believe Miss Persino has come up to the batter's box again. Brenda?
Yes, Brenda Persino, 226 Oak Knoll. I keep forgetting to say that. Kathy, I had a question for you. In your city, how many of your customers that had opted in to put on a smart meter, how much money did they say they are saving, as in percentage wise, or have they just not said anything? Is there any kind of number we can play off of?
Brenda, I'll have to respond. Mayor Kukuzzi was not able to continue. She wasn't really intended to be part of the panel, but I've got her cell phone. So, so I'm going to contact her tomorrow and make sure she's responsive to the question of the consumer savings. But she did mention to me that her husband is a notorious consumer bloodhound, and he has been figuring out ways in order to undertake those savings by going onto that dashboard. And you'd be surprised. One of the things that people learn is that you have units in your home that are plugged in that you're not using while you're gone, and they're actually drawing off the electric grid. And I've learned about some of that myself. One of the most notorious is if you got a cell phone charger, many of them, you disconnect your phone, but the charger's still plugged into the wall. You're actually generating a movement of your bill, which is obviously not a great thing. So but I will make sure I speak to the mayor and get the information to you. Well, I don't see any more hands, but I want to come back to some of our council people again, just so that we have a good representation of our elected representatives. Councilwoman Braymire, I'm just gonna ask you to say hello or see if you have any initial impressions beyond the meetings that we've already had.
Hello, Sandy Greenmeyer here. No, I think the meeting's going well. A lot of questions answered. I'm real pleased with it. Thank you.
Sure thing. All right, let's go back to Councilman Alberini. He who frequently provides pasta during these meetings. Go ahead, Terry, I'm sorry.
By the way, I went to the University of Copperwell, so I don't have a degree.
Okay.
Anyway, I appreciate the clarity, fellas, because the fact of the matter is a situation like this where a lot of false rumors travel through the community as far as these meters goes with the radiation, the overcharging on billing, et cetera, et cetera. So I really appreciate clearing things up for us. I do have one question. And you probably already said it. How many homes in the state of Ohio currently have the smart meters? I know we talked about Westerville, which is in Columbus, et cetera. So, I'd be curious to know how many homes in the state have the meters already.
Larry, how many Buckeyes are emanating?
I can't tell you for the state of for Ohio. Like I said, the one thing showed roughly 95 million in the US. I know we have 24 systems throughout Ohio. So I'd have to go back and add up what we have, but there are competitors to us that have systems too. Just about all the utilities are going to a smart metering system. It's just a way to save energy and save money and save operational efficiencies. And it brings them data to help keep you online. And as David says, find leaks before, the streets buckle and things of that nature. So there's just so many positive things to it. It just about every community is there.
Yeah, I did want to sponge off that a little bit, Terry. Some of the numbers that Larry was talking about nationally, I think we're in the vicinity of 95 million. Is that about right, Larry?
Yes.
About 95 million nationally. And I'm holding in my hand a bill, an August bill of 2020. So this is about 7 months ago. And it's a bill for McMullen Allen Road in Newton Township, not Newton Falls, Newton Township. And it's a customer of Ohio Edison. Now, when I made the announcement about this town hall meeting, there were some snarky remarks by people, which of course we never see that on Facebook. But anyways, there are a couple of posts on Facebook where people said, gee, this is terrible. I wish I was with Ohio Edison. Well, I'm going to read you the Ohio Edison bill from Newton Township. Ohio Edison is installing smart meters throughout our service area. If you have questions, please contact us. Your opt-out fee will be $28.29 per the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. So folks, unless you want to move to a cave somewhere in Idaho, the modernization projects under the guidance of many of these Public Utilities Commission is headed your way. And what I'm most hopeful of is that our citizens will participate in the consumer engagement portion, because education in terms of what's happening with your own bill on an almost in real time, I say almost in real time capability is absolutely astonishing. And
David, I did have one more question, if I could, please, not interrupt.
Yep.
How many participants are on the Zoom meeting right now, as far as the public goes? Can you tell?
Yeah, I can tell you right now. We have 4 times 4, approximately 16 right now, but it was a larger number before.
Okay.
It was. I think it was up to about. I think it was up to about 30 at one time. So
okay.
There was a larger number you see right now.
Gotcha. So one more question, and I'll shut up. Would you be opposed to having the guys come back on a few months down the road?
No, not at all.
Okay.
And by the way, I think we need to make sure everybody's clear about this. Installation is probably going to begin sometime in around June or so. So I think it makes sense as we begin the rollout to have that opportunity. I'm going to go back to Councilwoman Spletzer, and if you can unmute yourself, Tessa, we'd all be able to hear your dulcet tones.
Hi, you know, I just recently came on board as a councilwoman. And from what I recall in the past, when I did look at like the contracts, and I was at the special meeting back in March when the consultant didn't come in and you know, gave us the full PowerPoint slideshow. My question, what I want to know as a council person, my understanding is we are leasing this equipment. And at what point do we ever get to own this? Is this like a lease to own, or?
Yeah, I think I want to respond to that.
Yeah, when do we own it?
Okay, Tessa, we actually, leasing is a vehicle to ownership. It's just a financial, when we decided to get these meters, we wanted to find the most expedient and most financially advantageous way to become owners of them. And it just so happened that Huntington Bank had a leasing program, which was remarkably low in terms of the interest rate. And so that's why we got into the lease. But yeah, you're right. This is not a deal where, you know, like, you know, we're renting it for 4 years and then they come and take them back again. We are leasing it to the same extent. If you've ever seen a lease, Tessa, where you, a very a common area is a copy machine. You lease it for 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, you pay 10 cents and you own it. It's similar to that, except for we don't have to pay the 10 cents. We own it at the end of the lease. So, okay. I see a hand up again over in the land of Brenda Persino. So Brenda, we're back to you again.
Okay. I think my biggest concern and a big worry with a lot of people in our community is our safety. A lot of us, not only in Newton Falls, but in our neighboring counties, Lake Milton, Paris Township, Lordstown, have suffered a tremendous hit with cancer. I have looked up over 100 different websites doing research into this. So my question is, everybody keeps talking about their RF radiations. Went on a Pacific website that I had went to, and it has Mike Reese and Liz Barris, some of our House of Representatives, and through their U.S. National Toxology programs. I had found on—
Brenda, you got to get to a question, young lady. I understand what you're saying, but just ask the question.
The question is there was a report of radiation up to 60 times the amount as 1,000 microwatts per meter per square, which is equivalent to 160 cell phones. Is that found in this product?
Great. Okay, we got a question. Larry?
No.
Okay,
No.
Larry, could you elaborate a little bit on that? Larry,
No,
give us a little bit more footnote to that, to Brenda's question.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll talk about the electric meters or the water, what we call MTUs. You know, they operate at less than a watt, and they operate for depending on the amount of data, let's just say 100 milliseconds. And the water only transmits data every 6 hours, and electric meters on an hourly basis. So it is well below, you know, any cell phone that you're going to have and are currently using today, right? I'm not sure where that data came from. I'm not sure what they were testing. I'm not sure if it was whose product they were testing. So it, you know, I can just tell you that we all have to go by, you know, FCC rules and you know, we follow UL, we follow all the standards that the government requires us to standard, and we're well below those standards. So, you know, I mean, today, I think you all know anybody can put anything on the internet and it's considered fact. But you know, if you want to give to Dave that specific article or whatever else, we'll look into it to see what they're talking about, but that's not the case.
Yeah, Brent, I'd be happy to pass that report on. Chris, did you want to offer any kind of response to Brenda's remarks at all?
No, I'll leave that to Larry in terms of the equipment and technology and its transmission rates.
Okay, all right. Tessa, you're pointing, but everybody's screen is a little different, so I can't tell who you're pointing to. So here, Tessa, let me unmute you. You can tell me who you want me to call on. Tessa, unmute yourself for a second. There you go.
Mr. Bariak.
Mr. Bariak,
He's
okay.
beside
great.
me.
Well, see, our screens are all different. That's the way Zoom works. Okay. All right, John, would you unmute yourself, please? There you go. Go ahead, John.
I'd like to ask a question. Has Ohio Edison put back their I had heard that they were going to go with the smart meters, but they've put it back for a while now. Is that true?
That's not true. They are probably maybe the most aggressive smart meter installer in the world. They are all over it. Let's see. Other questions? Hold on a minute, John. Everybody's going one at a time here. I see a hand also from Mr. McLaughlin again. Hold on a second, Ed. You got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, yeah, Ed McLaughlin, 230 Elizabeth Street. I'm just not too sure on this opt out. If I get the meters, okay, and I decide to opt out after that, then I'm going to only pay $28.29 a month. There's no added fee on top of that.
You know, let me clear that up. There will be some kind of switch out fee. Now, it may not be the whole meter like Larry said, and it's not going to be a lot, but we're going to have to pay a human being to go to your home and do that. So in addition to the $28.29, and again, we haven't established that amount, but it'll be a very modest fee because we're going to have to pay a technician to come to your home. And by the way, you can go back again too. You keep on going back and forth.
Okay, just saying if I don't have it and I get good news, hey, these meters the rates didn't go up. And then, okay, let me get them.
Yeah.
Then there's no fee for that then, or just an installation?
So if you've already opted out and you want to add a meter, yes, there'll be a slight, we've got to send a technician out there.
Right.
And so yeah, there'll be a slight fee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, I don't see any more hands other than Councilman Zimmerman. Thank you. I'm glad that people are visually making themselves known. Go ahead, Councilman.
Just a quick question. With us leasing this equipment, what can we expect as a lifetime for these transmitters? What happens if a transmitter goes bad? Who's responsible for replacing it? And is there, what is the, I guess, time frame as far as maybe updating the technology as it becomes available? Is that something that's done every so often, like cell phones? People replace them every 2 to 3 years. Can we expect the same lifetime from these transmitters? Are these 5 to 10 years? Technology gets better. What happens then?
Okay, well, you just broke my one question rule now.
Sorry.
That's all right. I will say that the replacement of the technology, if there's a problem with it, is not at the cost of the resident. We absorb that. We've built that into our equipment acquisition. As far as the viability of these things, duration in terms of life, Larry, I guess I'll throw that over to you.
Yeah, so the water MTU has a 20-year warranty. The first 10 years is 100%. The next 10 years is prorated. The electric meter has a year warranty, but they're designed for 15 years of actual use. They're designed for 20 years, but we have a 15-year life on them, which is pretty typical for a meter or an AMI system. In regards to technology, for those that have the RF meters, there's the ability to do updates to the RF module or the meter over the air. All of your data is going to be encrypted. Any communication is going to be encrypted. So it has 256-bit encryption built into it. So everything will be secure. So nobody can update any data other than you, under your direction, being the city of Newton Falls Utilities. So, yeah, you know, the life is typically 15 years on an AMI system. Yeah, clearly some last longer.
Yeah, let me jump in on that if I may, Councilman Zimmerman. Our current meters were projected, were indicated when we acquired them to have a life of 10 years each. We've gotten 30 to 40 years of lasting out of the existing meters, even though they were, what happens is the manufacturer will say, well, we'll commit ourselves to 10 years. But again, we've gotten 30 to 40 years life of our existing meters. And don't forget, we are not just putting these devices on the emanating devices, but the meters themselves are going to be brand new digital devices. I'm going to go back, since we're in the council person mode, let's go back to Councilwoman Spletzer. And Tessa, if you could unmute yourself again, I'd appreciate it. There you go.
Thank you. Something just crossed my mind, and you know, we've got an abundance of rental properties in Newton Falls. When it comes to this opt-in, opt-out, opt-out, opt-in, who's going to be responsible for that yes, no, yes, no, yes, no decision making? And as a landlord, let's say, can they also be receiving the data as far as the units?
Well, let me say this much, because that's a City of Newton Falls question. The only person that can receive the data is the person that's responsible for the bill. So no other person can receive the data, and that's the law in the state of Ohio anyhow. Now, a lot of landlords have different arrangements with their tenants. Some landlords have a all utilities included arrangement, so the landlord's responsible in that case. Some landlords have a tenant pays the utilities kind of arrangement, in which case that tenant will make that decision. However, the landlord owns the property. So I know that Chris is very experienced in this area, and you just have to deal with it on a case-by-case basis. Generally speaking, landlords, I don't know, I guess in Newton Falls, most of the landlords have the tenants pay their own utilities. That's been the experience, in which case the renters are going to have a certain degree of control unless the landlord intervenes. So, okay. I see no other hands from council persons. So, by the way, I don't know, just nod yes or no. Councilman Zimmerman, you actually had several questions. Did we generally address the things you were concerned about? Okay, great. All right. Well, the only and very last hand at this point is Brenda Persino again. And Brenda, I feel like we're touching third base and heading home. So go out in a blaze of glory.
This was about the wiring. So I take it we won't have to worry about any new ground wiring around our home. And will there be an inspection prior for the wiring on our home prior to the meter being putting on the home?
All right, that is a Chris question. Chris?
Sure. There is not a need for an inspection prior to us coming out to do that. There's no need for any new wiring, additional wiring, anything like that, unless, you know, like I said, if we open up the meter and there's something wrong in that meter socket that's hazardous, maybe the wires are deteriorated or somebody's done something inside of it, then, you know, we address that at the time. But there is 99% of the time, there's nothing that needs to be done. You don't have to do anything in advance to the wiring. We don't need anybody to come look at it ahead of time. You don't need to have an electrician come out or a plumber come out and look at anything. We're just going to come do what we need to do and move along, and you'll be fine.
Okay. All right, I see Councilman Bariak with a question. John, unmute yourself, please. There you go, John. Go ahead.
The only question that I have is that, and I would have to go back and I'd ask one of the fellows, the amount that I was told that we were going to pay back, we would still receive a couple $100,000 more revenue generated and what this system was going to cost us per year. But I didn't hear exactly, except LED lights and maybe 1%. And I didn't hear that there's any guarantee. And did I hear one of you fellas say there really isn't a guarantee, or could you explain that to me again a little bit?
Well, Councilman, I signed that contract, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the guarantee. I have been meeting with Larry and Chris and Mark on a regular basis as we gathered information, we prepare for this meeting. In fact, this afternoon I said, I guarantee you that John Bariak will ask about a guarantee. And here it is. John, the anticipated benefit above the cost, I think is actually much higher. The projections that you read, I think, are conservative projections. And most of that money, John, isn't from the LED. Most of it is going to be in what we find in the water that's getting away from us right now as a result of that. We have meters, John, in this town that are so decrepit, they're not turning at all in a slow water utilization mode. For example, a slow water utilization mode is the refilling of a toilet. You can turn that knob on the underneath the toilet so that it fills in a very slow fashion. And because the meter is so decrepit, it's not even turning. It's like an old man trying to walk through the snow. So we anticipate some pretty significant savings in that regard. But I will be the first one to say it's not a guarantee. It is a scientific evaluation of our system. And just so you know, those numbers that you saw, they were as a result of throwing darts against the board. These folks from Gardner came in and did a pre-analysis of our entire system, checking meters on a random basis. Matter of fact, they already saved us a bunch of money because in that pre-analysis, they found a master meter in which we were losing quite a bit of revenue attached to one of our great institutions in town, a private institution. I'm not going to identify them because I actually think it's against the law if I do tell you who they were. But my point is that that is just scratching the surface of the things that that they're able to find. Okay, I am looking for additional questions, and seeing none, I want to say a couple concluding remarks. First of all, thank you to the mayor of Westerville, Ohio, who came and gave us some of those impressions. I will get Brenda Persino's questions over to Mayor Kukuzzi, but she is probably one of the best barometers because that's a much bigger community and they've been going through the process. In fact, she even made some advice to us as it relates to the consumer engagement portion. And so the nice thing is we're not reinventing the wheel. A lot of people and communities have been through this. I want to say thanks to Mark Havens from Gardner and Larry Regal from Clara and Chris Kilroy from Clara, to all the council people for participating. You know, this was a town hall meeting in which no public official was required to attend with the exception of yours truly. And yet on a Monday night, when you could otherwise be doing other things, on one of the few Mondays when you don't have a council meeting, you are here. And it speaks very well on behalf of your constituents, Councilman Alberini, Councilwoman Spletzer, Councilman Bariak, and Councilman Zimmerman, and Councilwoman Sandra Braymeyer. We appreciate your involvement. I've seen other communities do this a long time over the years. And John, these guys aren't allowed to give a guarantee, but I'll give you a guarantee. This will be one of the great advances for our community in terms of saving money for our residents. And I'll tell you what, the first time you look at your smartphone and you see that electric typewriter that you left plugged in from way back when is burning electricity and you can save that money. You know, these are difficult times. And these meters have historically been perfected more and more. As Larry said, these meters started coming into getting into the public domain about 40 years ago, and mistakes have been made along the way. The last thing I wanted to say is, please, everybody, take a look at the city's website tomorrow. You will see postings of these articles and these websites, so you can source some of this information yourself and read it yourself in its entirety. Some of it is deep into the weeds. Brenda Persino was talking about some of the wattage issues, so it can get pretty complex, but take advantage of those. And then once we begin the rollout that the suggested Councilman Alberini, we will convene again. I do think that's important, especially with some of the questions that have been raised about the pandemic and so forth, that when we start the rollout, and again, that'll be sometime in June, that we meet again. And my prayer is that at that point in time, with the vaccines, the herd immunity, and other immunities building up, that we won't be doing this by Zoom, though I very much appreciate everybody's participation. Okay, I see somebody's waving his finger, and that's Ed McLaughlin. So Ed, before we say adieu to everybody, I will ask you to unmute yourself and see if we can sneak in one more question.
One more quick one. I mean, everyone's talking about the electric meters, but my question is, are the rates for the water meter going to be the same, or are they going to be adjusted somewhat?
Yeah, Ed is talking about the water rates. I know this much, Ed. The rates will not be affected in any detrimental way by the meters themselves. Now, every 5 to 10 years, our city undergoes rate studies. So
Yeah,
the
I
meters,
understand
the
that.
meters won't be a factor in that. But I'll give you an example. If the cost of chemicals at our water plant triples, probably would affect our water rates. Or if there's a damage to the water purification system that's not otherwise covered by insurance. I mean, there could be a number of things. If healthcare quadruples in cost, that means what we're paying our guys for their health insurance is going to go up. So, but there will be no negative impact from these meters
So
whatsoever.
the initial cost is going to be the same, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, that's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, thanks again, everybody. I appreciate it so much. We stand in adjournment, and
Thank you. Thank you for your time, all of you.
together again. So thanks, everybody. Have a great
Thank
night
you.
tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, bye now. See you, Dave.